Alright, we are back again with another review for you. Alright, so I am playing black, you're playing white. Alright, let's get into it. So, you played knight to c3, which, again, is a opening. I'm not sure the name of it because I don't see it happen too often. But I played e5 because, again, I'm going for the center of the board, we always talk about. You played e4, which is also attacking that center. We're trying to get some pieces into play. It's also opening up your queen to come out and your bishop to come out, which is good. So that move right there is key in getting your pieces developed faster. So that's why I would like to play a lot of e4 openings and d4 openings, just because it kind of e, especially because on both sides of the board it opens up that. And let me highlight that. It opens up that pathway for the bishop and the queens to get out sooner. So there's just that little mental note there. Alright, so then I played after that knight to f6, adding some pressure to that pawn, but not too much pressure because, of course, I'm adding some pressure here, or, to the center of the board. Your knight is there protecting that, so I'm not gonna jump and take that pawn because your knight's there. However, your knight ever moves and you don't back it up with something else, then I will do that. So typically, if I were to play, say, this pawn up here, what is that, d5, the next move most players like to play is putting the bishop here, and that's checking my king right there. Now I can always bring this bishop or this knight to this square right there, if I want to, or I can move a pawn up there. So, but yeah, that's customary. So on your next move, you brought your bishop out, which is good, attacking that weakness that's always there, and it's also, you're getting closer and closer to being able to castle. So that's good. I brought my pawn there, again, to try to capture something in the center here. So I want to attack this bishop and this pawn. So I was actually expecting you to take with this pawn instead of moving your bishop here, which is fine. It's totally fine. So you moved your bishop there, I'm in check. I brought my bishop out, attacking your bishop. You brought this knight out, which is good because I see you want a castle. I may have done that later, no, actually, maybe that was a fine move. Because I was thinking you could take that pawn with this pawn. My knight is not going to take that back because, again, it's a pawn. And your knight right here is adding protection at. So technically, this was a free pawn. But it's fine that you didn't take that. Yeah, that's fine. So, but it allowed me to move my pawn up because now my pawn is going to be attacking your knight. So my pawn here is attacking that knight. So you would probably have to move your knight here, which, if I want to take with this knight, you can always take back with that pawn, which is, again, typical what you see doing. And then maybe after that, I would probably move this pawn up to the square since it's no longer occupied, which you could move your knight. You can move your knight anywhere you see fit. So, but instead you took with the knight, which was a mistake. And the reason that was a mistake is because now my pawn could just easily take your knight and nothing's protecting it. So that's why that was a bad move. And now my pawn is putting even more pressure on this knight. So, but you decided to take with the bishop, which, which is fine for an exchange. It's just, in this case, it wasn't because of this problem. This is still a problem right here. My pawn could just take that knight, and of course you can take back with this pawn. But in the last two moves, I would have gotten both your knights with one pawn. So that's why that's a big problem. So, and then, in my case, I took with the other knight because, again, if I want to give myself options where I can, if I get this bishop out, now I can castle to my king side. If I decide to move my queen here, now I can castle to my queen side. So I have the options now. So you decided to move your pawn up, which again, this knight is in danger. Yeah, this knight is in danger. So because it's in danger, you would have wanted to maybe get this knight, move this knight to, maybe there or there, because again, this pawn right there is backing it up. Well, actually, okay, in this case, maybe not here, maybe not there, but definitely there. So, and maybe you can come in at some point and do some more damage, or maybe even do that, because now this knight is pinned to this the queen at some point. So but I took back, so I got two knights with the same pawn. You took back, so you have double pawns there, and now your queen side is very open and exposed, which means that this side, the queen side, is not a good side to castle to. But again, you can castle to your king side, so that's what's good. So I moved my bishop out there because I want to castle on my king side. You moved your pawn up. I'm not sure why you moved your pawn up there. Yeah, if you want to castle, say to this side, unless you had, say, a pawn like here, or not pawn, a bishop right there, or a knight, or some piece where exposing this area would be fine. You just weakened your queen side by moving that pawn up. So, it's like once you do castle to the side, your king is, it's going to be exposed somewhat. And it's like, you don't want your king exposed at all unless, it needs to be exposed. But that's going to be later in the game where you're left with your king and a lot of pawns, and I'm left with, say, my king and a lot of pawns as well. And it's like, okay, it makes sense for my king to get from behind the barriers of the pawns because there's no pieces there to really put it in danger outside of the king and maybe a pawn. So, okay, so I castled. You castled. I brought my other knight into the game. You moved your pawn there, which I actually would have went one more square and put it here. The reason being because that's adding some pressure to my knight, where it's like, okay, I just moved this piece, now I have to move this piece again, say there, or somewhere. But it's like, when it comes to developing pieces, you want to try not to move the same piece twice in a row unless you absolutely need to. And that's in a situation where you're trying to keep that piece on the board because that might be the last minor piece you have on the board. So in this case, it's like, okay, I'm just trying to develop that piece. I don't want to move it twice. So moving that pawn up to this square right here would have been good because it's putting some pressure on this knight to have to move again, which might not be part of my plan. And then once this knight has to move again, you can probably move this pawn up here, right there. Now you have, let me animate it. Now you have protection. Now this pawn is here. Now you can move this pawn up there, and now you're attacking my knight, this knight, and this bishop, which would have been great, because then it's like, okay, I will probably move my bishop here. You take this knight, I'll take back my bishop, but I just lost a minor piece for a pawn. So it wouldn't have been an even trade-off for me, and that would have been a win for you piece-wise. So, but I decided to move that pawn up because I want to get my queen out, and you can kind of see where I want my queen to go. I want my queen here, so by moving this pawn up here, or even could have left it there where I wouldn't have had to do that, but maybe adding some pressure in this area wasn't a bad idea. But I want to get my queen here, so moving this pawn out was part of the plan, so my queen can go there. Okay, so you moved that pawn up to attack that knight, which was good when you see that when you have a move where a pawn can attack a minor piece and it's protected, which in this case it is by that. That's a good move. I guess only downside to this is that now this bishop is restricted to there until that pawn makes a move there or right there. So, and this bishop, if you were to get your queen, say here, this bishop right here is deadly because now this queen, this here, is pinning this pawn right there where it is. So you can put your bishop on this square because this pawn can't take that back because it'd be putting itself in check. So that'd be something for me to figure out how to defend. So, but I saw that, so I decided to put my knight there. You moved your rook out, which in this instance, I actually would have moved this pawn up here. I remember that same strategy, move that pawn up there. I would have had to move one, or in this case, like I would have had to move a piece, right? I would have preferred to move my bishop there to protect this pawn, or this knight right there, because if I take with this knight, you're still going to take a knight, and I'm defending with a bishop. So if it made sense to do that, I would do that. In this case, I'd rather not. So, and then by me doing that, I also was giving you control of that rank once this pawn goes there. So, but you decided to move your rook there. I decided to move that pawn up. You moved your bishop out. Moving that there was a mistake because the bishop has no protection. My bishop is protected by my queen right here. So if you were to take that, I would just take back. But your bishop just has no protection at all. So it made sense for me to just swoop and take that in. Swoop in and take that. Swoop and take that in. So I did that. So that was a bad move because your bishop wasn't protected. You brought your rook down to get it out the corner and get it into play. Putting some pressure there, which right now it doesn't mean too much, but if you say get your queen, get this queen, whether line it up there or just get it in this area, now you're going to add some more pressure to that pawn and just add more pressure on my side of the board where my king is, which is what you want to aim to do. First, you want to try to add pressure to where the king is, and then you want to apply that pressure when you safely can do it without losing pieces or strategically sacrificing pieces for better position so that you can put the opponent's king in checkmate. Okay, so I decided, okay, well, there's a knight fork here. Let me move from here to here. So now I'm attacking your queen, and I'm attacking your rook. And I'm also attacking this pawn. So that's why I decided to move my knight there. You moved your queen there. That was probably the best move to do. I can't really see anything else you could have done, because you can't take that knight. So that was, preserve the bigger piece. I decided, instead of taking it, to move my knight there, because I want my knight to control as many squares as possible, because right now these two knights are controlling those 4 squares. So, and I say controlling because the knights are attacking those squares. Those are the squares the knights can land on, so they're attacking those same squares that they can land on. So those 4 squares are what the knights are attacking. So if those 4 squares ever open up, the king couldn't go through those 4 squares. So essentially the king is stuck right there. So that's why I kind of want to get my knight in there. Now when I move my knight up to here, this would have been a good idea, because then I would have had to move the knight again. Where to? I don't know. But now this, having that pawn there is stopping my knight from being there, because I don't want to just give up a major piece for a minor piece, or for a pawn. I want an even exchange, or I want a better exchange. So I did that. This knight is still attacking here. So, but you did good by moving that away. Well, that was fine to move it away because it's in danger again. Well, actually, no, that was the best move. You needed to get that out first, and then depending on what I do next, then bring this pawn up and do that. So I decided to do that. Next move again, I would have done that. So, we'll see how this plays out. Okay, you move the pawn up. I attacked that pawn because I still wanted your rook, and now your king is in check. So your king You move that pawn up to block that bishop. I decided to take your rook. You moved your rook back. You moved your rook back from there to there. There's a few different things you could have done here. Instead of moving your rook, you could have used your queen to take back this knight. You could have used this pawn to take this rook, or a bishop. Let's see, what else could you have done? Yeah, that was essentially the moves right there. Or you could have kept your rook there and maybe brought your queen here. And then now it's lightning threatening, only because this rook is there. This pawn right here, but it is attacking this knight where my knight would have had to move somewhere. So there's a few ideas of what could have happened. So I decided to take that pawn because I actually wanted to get to this square. I'm putting you in check again. So you're just going to take back. And I'm going to do the same thing to my queen this time. And I'm attacking your king, but I'm lightly applying some pressure to that rook. Lightly, because that queen is there protecting it. So that's threatening essentially, but it doesn't really mean anything. So you moved over. I decided to move closer. Because of course I want to close the gap between the spaces you can go and the spaces I can go. So right now, at this moment, you can't go there or there. You can go there. No, you can't go there actually, because that knight. So you're essentially stuck in this little bubble right there, which is what I want. So, I want to get my pieces closer and closer to your side and put you in a position where your king can't move. So, and then once I put you in a position where your king can't move, then it's about putting you in a position where your king is attacked and can't move. And that way, and if it's being attacked and it can't move and it can't take the piece that's attacking it, it's in checkmate. So, all right. So you brought this rook up 1 to attack my queen. Understood. I get that. I would have. See, this one's a tough one. Oh, that's why I brought my queen there. I'm sorry. I moved my queen here to protect this knight. Before, your queen could have taken it, no problem. But I moved my queen there to protect that knight, so now you can't take it. Let's see what else. I guess maybe moving your queen there to try to take that knight. Trying to get your queen in action. But in this case, since this side of the board is so open, it's good to kind of keep some power pieces like your queen and rook on this side in case stuff goes down. So you did that. I moved up 1. Let's see, what could you have done here? I think it's kind of the same situation. You can attempt to get your queen out out in some space, but again, because this area near the king is so open, doing so would be a bad idea right now. So if your queen moves here, my queen goes here, and that's checkmate. So, and essentially, if my queen has the opportunity to go here, that's checkmate. So, I guess the move here would actually be to go back. Put your rook there. That way, well, no. Actually, no. That was threatening checkmate regardless. Because putting your rook there, I still have that square open for a checkmate. So I guess the real idea was not letting this rook escape this square right there. So you decided to move a pawn up because at this point for me it was checkmate regardless. So, and I just moved my queen all the way over. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If there's any more explanation from that, just let me know when you watch it. And yeah, I am signing off.